I think people get a huge amount of satisfaction about owning woodland. That's your work, that's your achievement. Woodland will pat you on the back for that. My name's Anthony Mason. I'm a writer, the author of Tree Planting, How to Create a Woodland. We list in the book the top reasons for owning or planting a new woodland. And there are many. It has a benefit that is really quite unlike other landscapes. One question that's often asked is, how long does it take to feel as though you've got a woodland? Patience is definitely a virtue. After about 8 years or so, you will start to feel that the woodland is on its way. After about 15 years or so, by that time the canopy will have really started to knit together and join together. Once you reach 30 years, it really will feel like a wood. That's part of the challenge of it, and that's you and your relationship with nature. That's kind of therapeutic too. There are many ways you can involve the community, and it often helps, I think, to think about that when you're planting a woodland. Who are the people around your woodland? What will they think of this project? Because they're looking at a change in their landscape too, so it helps to involve them. And there are many ways in which the communities love the project. You can get schools involved to do nature projects and that kind of thing. There are groups of people like the Scouts. There's a lot of learning around woodland that people can get involved in, and that can be quite technical. You can get maybe university projects that are counting species and looking at the way that species take over a new woodland and what that process is. Coppicing, which is a fairly short-term way of producing useful timber, usually planting shrubs or small trees like hazel. After about 7 years, you cut them right back, and then they'll produce poles over the next 5-7 years or so, and then you can harvest those poles, and those poles can be used for fencing or for broomsticks. Another one, of course, is firewood. When it comes to thinning, 20 years down the line or so, you'll have your ready-made supply of firewood from your woodland. You might find an interest in people who are woodworkers or sculptors who like interesting, maybe even rare forms of wood with different shapes and knots and grain in them. There are studies of therapeutic benefits of woodland and just how good it is for people to be able to see trees from a hospital window, for instance. COVID was a time in which people yearned to get out into woodland, and woodland provided a lot of therapeutic benefit. So there's kind of medicinal side to woodland. It's a great pleasure to be amongst trees. There's a huge richness in woodland, with all the biodiversity that entails. Hundreds of different sorts of moths and other kinds of insects, fungi, your smaller mammals, bird life. And that can actually start to develop really quite early on when you're planting woodland. You can start creating wildlife corridors which allow wildlife to move between other woodlands or between hedgerows and woodlands across your land. Trees, in particular, are very efficient at absorbing carbon. A 5-acre woodland absorbs about 20 tons of carbon, enough carbon for basically 2 average people in the UK. It has an immense contribution towards combating climate change. There are actually not many other ways that you can quite so effectively do your bit for climate change than buying and planting woodland. I think woodland is actually very much a part of our national psyche. People really love being in woodland, and they understand what that means. They feel a natural bond with woodland. This book is out now, for sale, available online.